wanted to show you a lot of the different Kim Possible sketches that I did. I would always get a script. From the script, I would understand what that character maybe needed to be, whether it was an incidental character like this person, or the Aunt June, or it could be an alien, or it could be this baby, Bebby. And these are the things that I would always be tasked to draw. And once I got my script, then I just can start roughing these out. And sometimes I would add color and sometimes I wouldn't. Usually always done with pencil. All these are done with light blue pencil too, most of them, where I just want to rough in something very light. I might even use a red pencil. It was just a way just to get a very light sketch. But the most important thing when designing characters is always thinking about feeling. You'll notice when you look at the gestures of these characters, they're all in what's called the front three-quarter view. And that's the most essential view for animation to give to the storyboard artists and the animators. And the idea is to be able to just show a hand in there, maybe show a little bit of the personality, but most importantly, just give the artists that need it, especially in the beginning, the storyboard artists, an idea of what that character is. And that's why you see all these in a very similar static pose, I would say. They're not in this real acting pose. That's not the goal, because at this phase, a lot of times you're going to have to do a turnaround based off the characters. Sometimes I didn't have to do a turnaround off the characters, and if I didn't, and I only had to draw one pose, that's when I would maybe put a little bit more energy or movement into the character. This one shows variation of how that character grew into different shapes. You'll notice that a lot of time I'm playing around with contrast a lot. This is a major aspect of designing, and I like to put a lot of the characters on the same page because it gives me that instant variation in the designs. There were so many designs that needed to be done on the production. Every maybe few weeks, 4 weeks I believe it was, there would be a new script, and that script would get broken down by the production coordinators, and I would be told all the characters that I had to design for the show. Some of the times I would be designing the characters up front, where that would happen in the minute I got the script, and sometimes I would design the characters after the storyboard artist was finished because I didn't necessarily know what they were going to do. Costume change. You see these different costume changes I'm playing with here with Kim. This is something that you have to go through as well in that development, where it's a big part of this, where you're not always designing brand new characters. And that's a misconception I feel like a lot of people have. A lot of times they always think you're going to be in the animation production designing the same characters, and you're not. And that's very important to know that you're going to have a lot of different roles, and showing a lot of variety is always very important. These are the sort of sketches I would show the director, and if the director was comfortable, it would go to that next phase. Oftentimes, you would always have to do your own cleanup too, and most productions where you're working, you do your rough, and then you got to put your tight line on it. Then it would go to the color stylist and that department where they would do the color. Here's one of KP's brothers. Again, just sketches, and I'm putting little notes here. I would always like little notes as to what my thought was, what I was thinking about changing or adding to the character. This would always help people when they're working on the designs, especially if they're learning to become more familiar with them. Again, there's a prime example of a costume change. This one might have been a prop in the show where I had to do like these little, I don't even know what these were actually, but you know, that's the fun thing. It's fun just sort of reminiscing and looking back at these. And a lot of these weren't even used. And that's something you got to be prepared for when you're working in this production, that in any production, that a lot of your work is not going to be used, but it's always going to be the pure love of drawing that's going to get you there. So contrast, you'll constantly see me playing with contrast, thin, tall, wide, narrow, and this is going to be another aspect in your show style, whatever you may be designing. Again, this is just one look and one style. There's many different ways these characters could have been approached, and it was always funny to me every time I'd get my script and I'd get to look through it, and I'd get excited sometimes, go, oh, that character's going to be so fun to draw. It's so exciting. And then there'd maybe be some characters, I can't remember any off the top of my head, that'd be like, oh, I don't want to have to draw that. Maybe it was a crowd scene or something. But it was always fun getting the different challenges with designs every time they came through. And even when I showed the director, there were a few different directors on this show for the seasons, and they all had their own different opinions and their different ways of seeing things. So every director would always give different notes, where one director was a lot easier, one director was a lot tougher, one director didn't know what they necessarily wanted. And you go around with different types of directors, and it's very important as an artist in the industry just to start to be used to working with people. You got to have a comfort level and a comfort zone and work with different people's moods, because some days are good moods, some days are bad moods, and this is something you got to weigh in. How do you work with other people? But yeah, these were a lot of fun little sketches. I remember drawing these of this warrior. Again, I don't think that they were ever used, and funnily enough, I haven't even seen all of the Kim Possible episodes, which is funny. But I hope you enjoyed this little walk down through character designs for Kim Possible.